This is a bit of an older story, but it's a story that we think is worth covering because what always people say about alternative economic systems to capitalism, well, under communism, X and Y bad things happen. Under socialism, you know, QRSTUV bad things happen. Well, under capitalism, bosses apparently use AI to determine who protests for justice and peace and put them in the naughty pile when it comes hiring time. I didn't know they did this. And we're going to be enlightened here. Here is Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, threatening student protesters with a lifetime of employment blacklisting using AI technology to root out the bad apples who were protesting for a ceasefire, even on the eve of what seems now to be a certain imminent ground invasion of Rafah. Here's Mr. Wonderful.
So what makes this different from all the other previous protests we keep hearing about is that you can see everything clearly.
Yeah.
How is this going to shape up for the futures of these bigots?
So student protests have been with us hundreds of years, and there's always the passion when you're young. What's different about this time is for the first time ever, because you think about the protests in the 60s and 70s, they were shot on 16-millimeter film. Very, very grainy, hard to get.
Okay, before he gets into the AI. Yeah, you're always passionate when you're young. This anti-genocide sentiment, they'll grow out of it. They'll grow out of it. And, you know, it sounds ridiculous, but it's true. It's true. A lot of those boomers who were protesting against Vietnam, they ended up voting for Ronald Reagan 12 years later. You do grow out of it. You get paid, right? I hope they don't. I hope they don't. I hope he's wrong about that. But he's actually not all wrong about that. It's a condescending, shitty thing to say. But it does have a track record of being true. So I hope to God it's not true this time.
I think it might not be true this time because
because they're not going to get hired. So they're not going to be able to sell out.
Well, not just that. The gifts and prizes that you get for joining the establishment were a lot better back then. The snacks were better.
That's true.
Snacks were better. Now you can't afford a house.
Right.
You have no job security. All the assets are insanely inflated. I was watching. All right. You might want to put your hands over your ears if you have PTSD. So I was watching Scott Galloway gave a TED Talk. And now I know his main thing is economics. He just dropped this book. In his wisdom, he's decided to run around talking about fucking Israel in the most cringe way you could imagine. And even his economic take is pretty cringe. But this is why you should listen to everybody, even people that you disagree with, because you very often they might have information and come to a conclusion you don't agree with, but the information is good. So what he talked about in this TED Talk was basically how the older generation has used its political and economic power to pull the ladder up for the younger generation by imposing very strict housing permit laws, for example, so that there won't be a lot of new housing built, which keeps the price of their assets elevated. Having favorable tax schemes for homeowners like themselves, for asset holders like themselves with the capital gains taxes, that kind of thing. And he also pointed out how universities have not increased the number of people that they accept at anything like the rate that they've increased their tuition. So he was pointing out at the time that he went to UCLA, they took 75% of people. And now they take something like 6% of people who apply. And he was saying this has shrunk and shrunk and shrunk opportunity for this generation. Now, where he goes into another direction, which is totally consistent with the kind of person he seems to be. He literally describes education as the opportunity for the 90% to join the 10%.
All right.
And he feels like it's not fulfilling that duty. That's how he sees the problem. Right. So that's where he goes off into Scott Galloway land. But that basic insight and information into the way this generation has shut down opportunity for younger people. And he showed the difference in income relative to the cost of buying a house in the 70s, what percentage people over 65 of the nation's wealth people had in the 70s versus now. And it's as you would expect. So are they going to join? What is there to join? What are they going to join for? It was very different for the boomers. There were a lot of rewards for joining back then.
Of course. Well, not only are the rewards smaller, but as you'll see in the rest of this, if he has his way, these people won't ever be hired in the first place.
Particularly at night. Not the case.
You back this up.
In the 60s and 70s, they were shot on 16 millimeter film. Very, very grainy, hard to get resolution, particularly at night. Not the case now. Everything being shot now is 1080p or 4K, even the surveillance cameras. Every single image, even at night now, goes into an AI generator and will tell you who that individual is. So I hire people. I have a lot of companies. I hire thousands of people. Within weeks, I'm going to be able, when we're doing your background check, I'm going to find this because it's going to be in there on the dark web. Those are the services we buy. It's only $5,000 to do a deep, dark check. Here's your resume with a picture of you burning a flag. See that one? That goes in this pile over here because I can get the same person's talent in this pile that's not burning anything.
Right.
I don't care what university or what you're burning or whose side you're on. You'll never know why you didn't get a mortgage. You'll never know why you didn't get into college. You'll never know why you didn't get a mortgage? Wow.
So he's going beyond. I didn't even catch that. I didn't even catch that the first time. It's not just employers. No, now you're not going to get a mortgage. We're going to ruin your life using AI. We're going to do a deep, dark check on you. And we're going to deny them mortgages and jobs. We're going to ruin their lives because they're burning things down. Again, total lie. Who's burning anything down? What burned down?
Right.
What
and he's gleeful about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, this is what they want. They want this corporatocracy where they have this constant boot on your neck. It's funny. 1984, presents this vision of really totalitarian communism. The future is going to be a boot stamping on a human face forever. Yeah. And it looks like capitalism is bringing us to that future. And people like Mr. Wonderful, who know that the system is always going to serve him. He's never going to do anything that's going to make an AI reveal him as a dangerous dissident who shouldn't get a mortgage. These people are gleeful about it. They love the idea of a future like this.
Yep.
Advanced education. You'll never know I didn't get the job because we see you now. And all you need is to have your eyes exposed with a new 4K image, and for the rest of your life, you're in this pile. So,
wait a minute. Whoa. I thought under communism, you have an all-seeing, all-knowing government.
Exactly.
That polices your every move. Yep. Here you have Mr. Capitalist himself, a billionaire businessman, saying, we will, through the private sector, of course, right? Wouldn't want to do it any other way. We're watching you. Big Brother is watching you, except Big Brother in this case is not the government. Big Brother is the 1%. The 1% of the 1%. Yep. They have $5,000 lying around to do a deep, dark check on you, whatever the fuck that is, and look into everything you've ever done, and you won't ever know why you didn't get the mortgage. You won't ever know why you can't get a break in life. Because just like a lot of big tech algorithms are kept secret, right? A lot of big tech rules and guidelines on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You get your posts shadow banned without you ever knowing. They do the same thing. Turns out they can shadow ban you too in the marketplace. When it comes to housing, when it comes to employment, they can destroy you and you'll never know how or why. I thought this only happens in totalitarian communist countries, dystopian future countries that don't have a free market. No, the free market will do this to you if they want to because they don't like that you protested a genocide. Wow. Right. Wow.
Well, this is the dream of aristocrats and elites throughout history to have this kind of capacity for surveillance and control over the population. It doesn't matter whether you call it the Central Committee, whether you call it the People's Republic, whether you call it the 1%. elites always want to be able to dictate to the population what they can and can't do. It doesn't matter what system you create. This is the disagreement I often have with our Marxist friends, and I don't say that sarcastically. We're friends with a lot of people who have that point of view. I believe that this is what humans do with power. I don't think it's really a matter of what system you have. I think power is always dangerous. And when you have that power concentrated in few hands, which I think always tends to happen because people who have it tend to hoard it in any system. And they pass it on to their connections, to their relatives. It's very hard to get around that when you play out a system over time. As you have often said, all systems are doomed to failure over a longer enough time scale. But if you look at what they're describing, this should raise the alarm bells of anyone who cares about civil liberty. This is so incredibly dangerous. But as we saw at the fucking douchebag festival I was just at.
Dissident douchebag festival.
The Dissident Douchebag Festival. They're not talking about things like this, and I don't think they'd be particularly alarmed about it. Because it's targeting who they want targeted, and that's such a human failing. You see that on both the right and the left. Everybody's a civil libertarian until people that they don't agree with are being targeted with the destruction of their civil liberties, whether it's truckers, whether it's students protesting. The civil liberties end when dangerous elements are being targeted. There are very few people who are really consistently moral on this issue.
Exactly. All right, we'll let this finish up.
See you now. And all you need is to have your eyes exposed with a new 4K image, and for the rest of your life, you're in this pile. So there's plenty of consequences for all those people. Even an image that far away, AI can generate who they are by the way the body moves. I can't believe the stuff I find in background checks now. These people are screwed.
Yeah.
What did Jesse say?
Wow, yeah.
This
And Greg
fucking
Gutfeld.
scumbag douchebag.
Yeah, speaking of scumbag douchebags, these Fox anchors, if a Democrat, I won't even say if a left-wing person, if a Democrat, if Elizabeth Warren.
We can pick out the people from the 1-6 crowd
Right.
with our AI
Exactly.
technology.
If a Democrat were up here talking about that, they would consider this a terrifying infringement on civil liberties. Look at how out of control they are. When it's a billionaire businessman saying he's going to use these kinds of intrusive AI practices or, deep dive scrolls on the dark web about who's been to what protest and when, they got nothing to say. Yeah, that's true. They're screwed. They're screwed. This is why, we're going to get, when we play the Li Fang interview, so I'll just tease this out very quickly. Russell said, this is it's both the end of woke and the end of anti-woke. Because you see that these people don't mean anything they say about government abuse, government overreach, surveillance, not a thing. If the right person does it for the right reason, they're all for it. Though that means you have no principles, if that's how you feel. Yeah.
Yep.
Just incredible.
Yeah, and Mr. Wonderful. I mean that we should do a 1984 parody where you have Mr. Wonderful as O'Brien.
Yeah,
because in our system he is.
Yeah.
That's the boot that's going to be stamping on your face. It's going to be some arrogant, narcissistic capitalist saying, "Well, you should have told the line. Who told you to be out there with those signs?"
Right.
Now, and I have a lot of questions about the way he described this. One, okay, I guess $5,000 is chump change for a big corporation. Although that does seem like a lot of money to put every applicant through when you're not going to hire 99% to drop $5,000 on every applicant.
Right. Well, I guess if Mitt Romney's kid shows up, you can, pretty much assume that he's cool.
Yes, you can save your money there.
Yeah, save your money.
And also, why do you have to go to the dark web? Is this illegal?
Yeah,
what? I have a lot of questions. Like, why don't you just have services that do this for you?
Yeah,
why
there are background
dark
check
web?
services that are mainstream. What is this? This separate network where we go live. Exactly. It's creepy.
What is that? Yeah.
Pretty scary shit. Yeah, indeed.
Please clap.